So thank you everyone very much. Please wait for a moment until we begin the 68 International Student Conference Final Forum.
Okay. Wait, can you say that again? Okay, is everybody here? Okay. Sorry, you can start again.
Okay. So while we wait for the ceremony to begin, please kindly allow us to go through a few guidelines for today's final forum. We kindly ask you for your cooperation and understanding regarding the guidelines.
開会式が開始するまでは、本日の開催にあたってのお願いについてご説明させていただきます。何卒ご協力いただきますようお願いいたします。
Firstly, we kindly ask our guests to have their microphone off. If you don't mind showing your face, we would be very grateful if you could have your camera on. Nonetheless, if you have any difficulties, you can join us without your camera on as well. During the event, we may inform you to turn off the camera if the internet connection is affected.
本日は登壇者の順番が決まっていますので、ご来場の皆様にはマイクを切っていただきますようお願いいたします。また本日はカメラをオンに設定していただき、ご参加いただければ幸いです。カメラオンでのご参加が難しいようでしたら、カメラを切っていただいてももちろん問題ございません。差し支えない範囲でご協力いただければ幸いです。なお、イベント中、接続環境に支障があった場合は、カメラを切っていただくようにお願いする場合がございますので、あらかじめご了承ください。
Secondly, since today's video and audio recordings are authorized by ISC, we strictly prohibit the recording by the general public. In addition, please also be aware that we plan to use today's photos and videos recording for our social media in the future.
次に、一般観覧者の皆様による録画・録音は固く禁止しております。また、弊団体の収録する映像や写真は、弊団体の各種ソーシャルメディア媒体にて使用させていただく場合がございますので、あらかじめご了承ください。
Thirdly, since we want this forum to be as interactive as possible, so we would highly appreciate it if you could give comments, feedback, or reaction on Zoom.
また、本日の成果発表会をよりインタラクティブにするために、各登壇者の発表の後に、Zoom にてリアクションやコメントをいただきますようお願いいたします。
Lastly, we kindly ask all guests to respond to the web questionnaire at the end of the final forum, which will be distributed via Zoom chat.
なお、各分科会による発表、ゲストスピーカーのご登壇、また全体の開催が終了した後、各アンケートを Zoom にて配布いたしますので、ご回答いただきますようお願いいたします。
We will also send the guidelines for today via chat, so please feel free to refer to them.
ただいま、実行委員のヨシがご参加にあたってのガイドラインをチャットに送りますので、ぜひご参考ください。
We would now begin the 68 International Student Conference Final Forum. My name is Mai Lan-chen, the Conference Director of ISC68, and I'm going to be your host today.
ただいまより第68回国際学生会議成果発表会を開会いたします。本日はお忙しい中ご来場いただき、誠にありがとうございます。本日の司会進行を務めますのは、第68回国際学生会議会議取締役のマイ・ランチャンと、私、代表の川口みのりです。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
Before we begin with the opening ceremony of the final forum, please allow me to briefly explain today's agenda.
では、開会式を始める前に、本日の式次第を簡単にご説明させていただきます。
Today's event will take place for around 3 hours, from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Japanese time. Right after the introduction, we will have an opening speech from the president of ISC68, and we will have a brief presentation on the activity report of ISC68. From 2:30 onward, we will proceed to the presentation of each table. Today, we will begin with Table 1 and end with Table 4.
本日の成果発表会は、日本時間の14時から17時まで約3時間にわたって開催されます。早く終わる場合もございますので、その場合はご了承ください。この説明の後、第68回国際学生会議の代表、私による開会宣言をお届けします。その後、第68回国際学生会議の活動報告をさせていただきます。14時35分からは各分科会による成果発表を行います。そして本日は分科会1から分科会4の順で進行させていただきます。
After the feedback session, we will proceed to the closing ceremony with a closing speech from the president of ISC68, and we will end the event by 4:30 Japanese time. However, although the official part of today's event will end at 4:30, we will set up a time for free interaction session until 5 p.m. So you're more than welcome to remain and meet the presenters as well as the committee members after the event.
フィードバックが終了後、閉会式へ進み、第68回国際学生会議代表による閉会宣言をもって、16時半頃には成果発表会を終了いたします予定です。今回は4時半に終了予定ですが、17時まで30分程度の自由な対談の時間を設定しておりますので、イベント終了後にも Zoom に残っていただき、発表者や実行委員と交流していただくことも大歓迎です。それでは開会宣言の前に本日ご来場のゲストの皆様を軽くご紹介させていただきます。I'm going to introduce today's guests who are present here today one by one. So if possible, please turn your camera, please. First of all, I'm just going through one by one the person I see in the participants list. From OBOG alumni, Chris Takigawa と ISC の卒業生の滝川クリス君。そして次に国際教育振興会30回事務局長井部有子様。And then ISC OBOG 会からおよび第67回副代表を務めていた小松君。国際教育振興会三女会から岡本実様。外部団体 MUF から渡辺様。第67回国際学生会議副代表青柳式君。で、最後にテーブル3メンターのズフィカー・プトラ。以上をもちまして本日のゲストの紹介を終わらせていただきます。Now I introduce the guests for today's session, and then thanks so much for coming today. And I'll give it back to Lan.
Thank you for the introduction. So without further ado, I would like to invite Minori Kawaguchi, the president of the 68 International Student Conference, for the opening speech.
さて、次に私の方から第68回国際学生会議の開会宣言をお届けし、成果発表会を開会させていただきたいと思います。少々お待ちください。Okay, so good morning, everyone. This is Minori Kawaguchi, and as Lan introduced me before, I am 68th president of International Student Conference. First of all, I would like you to show my deepest appreciation to all of you who are here today. I'm delighted to see those from corporate sponsors, ISC alumni, foundations, mentors, and other guests. Finally, us, participants of this conference and commit members are all here. Looking at this screen right now with so many faces and attendees, I see the considerable support ISC receives every day, such that it has continued to grow over 68 years. I would like to explain what would be expected in today's final forum through the explanation of this year's theme, Big Step new chapter of the global society and our lives. So this theme has three aspects. First, big step in the global society. Because of the pandemic and the global conflict going on, it is globally said that world growth has been slowed down. One of our students asked during the guest lecture offered by United Nations the other day, if the time framework of UN social development goals will be extended or not for the sake of the delay in the development aftermath of COVID. I found it a super interesting question. And what the UN person said was, we'll see how it goes at 2030, and we'll decide on what's going to happen after. Likewise, it is a widely held concern that globalization as well as economic development has been negatively pressured in the current situation. Having said that, this year's 4 table topics were chosen by our academic committees according to their own interest. However, their interests are commonly explored through deep consideration of what should be changed in this global society urgently. So they question themselves what kind of steps the world should take in this current situation. And from my perspective in global politics, I strongly believe that we, the younger generation, should be at the forefront of political movements since we will be leading the future of the global society. Therefore, today, we can expect of 4 conference tables to propose what kind of steps and changes the global society should take and who should be the main actor for the change. Second, I believe that this platform ISC should be the place where students can take a huge step forward in their lives. This means that through ISC, I hope that students make a difference in their interest and personality in their positive way. Such a change can be in various ways. For instance, some students gain more ability in critical thinking. Some students have more confidence in discussion and speaking in English, wanting to go abroad and challenge themselves even more. Or others maybe feel like they found a new community or family they belong to. While I have been present in this year's program, I have already seen changes in each of you. Therefore, today, I would like all of you here today to be excited and looking forward to observing students' effort and their confidence in their presentations. Finally, this year's ISC as an organization has taken a step forward in its growth as well. We focused on connections with external associations. Therefore, we organized many joint events with student associations in universities inside and outside Japan. Furthermore, we organized offline events after a few years, inviting many students who do not join this year's program. Consequently, ISC68 has expanded its scale this year significantly and successfully provided its benefits to many students around the world. The more detailed part of our activities will be presented later in the activity report from my side. And this is the opening speech from my side, and then thanks very much for your attention and your presence to this session. And unfortunately, I'm gonna cut the Japanese translation here, but I hope I deliver my message successfully. Thanks very much. And Lan, you can continue to the next part.
So the next part of our agenda would be ISC68 activity report presented by Minori, our president.
Okay, now getting back to me as well. And now I'm going to introduce our activity report throughout this year. So what we have done in both English and Japanese. So you can go to the next slide, Maria. Thank you. So this ISC68 had a program scaled, spanned from June, at the end of June, June 25th, till now, August 13th. 今年度の ISC68 のプログラムは6月末の6月25日から本日8月の13日までにわたって行われました。6月の末には参加者を確定し、そして8月13日の今日、成果発表会を行っています。 So we selected our participants at the end of June. And then now today here, we are carrying out final forum. And you can go to the next slide. So ISC is not only about holding a conference, and then we organize a lot of other activities, as I said in the opening speech. For instance, in July, we hosted 2 culture exchange activities. First one was fraternity quizzes and talent show. ISC68 のプログラムはただ会議を行うだけではありません。例えば文化交流会を7月には2回開催しました。1つ目はフラタニティクイズといってアメリカの文化を基調としたどのようにアメリカの学生がパーティーをするのかというのを紹介しました。そして2つ目がタレントショー。こちらは参加者の学生たちが自分たちの文化に沿ってそれぞれのスキル、それぞれの特技を紹介するとても楽しいショーとなりました。Next, I'm going to introduce what was One Day ISC68. One Day ISC68 was basically offline event where we invited students who live in Japan, in Tokyo. That was a really interactive activity where students choose one topic out of 2. So here you can see an effective inclusion of LGBTQ and the future of smart city and big data. And then the event was organized in the format of scavenger hunt. So basically we set some locations students can go on a visit and then learn about their topics, interactive way, also by their sense. So they touch things, they observe things, and then they hear and experience from the people who is specialized in their topics. And after that, we gather at one place in Tokyo, and then we conducted discussion and presentation session where students basically share what they learned and observed in Tokyo. And overall, the event went really well, and we got a lot of great, nice feedback from our participants. And then I hope that they found a new friends, also found a kind of new insight about their topics. One Day ISC68 は東京の中で行われました。説明すると、まず学生たちは東京の代々木公園に集まって、それぞれのトピックを選びます。それぞれのトピックは、効果的な LGBTQ の人々のコミュニティに対する関係性と、スマートシティやビッグデータの未来について考えるというトピックを選びました。そして実行委員は協力してこちらからそれぞれの行く場所をスポットを設定し、そしてスタンプラリーのような感じで各学生がグループになってそちらを訪問するという機会になりました。このイベントの良かった点は、ただディスカッションやプレゼンテーションをするだけではなく、実際に目で見て経験者の方から話を聞いたり、実際に考える、そのように自分で行動することによって学ぶという大切さがありました。そしてそのスタンプラリーの後は、一つの場所にすべての参加者が集まり、ディスカッションとプレゼンテーションを英語で行いました。ただトピックを一つ選ぶのではなく、それぞれの意見を交換し、紹介し合うことで、2つのトピックを同時に学べるというとても効率的なイベントになりました。イベントの最後には参加者の皆様から新しい友達を見つけることができた、さらにトピックについて深く考えるようになった、などなど、とてもポジティブなフィードバックをいただきました。このようにして、コロナの中でも少人数でできるアクティビティを開催することで、オンラインだけではなく、オフラインの楽しさを思い出すような経験ができました。Finally, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker session and then moving back to our conference structure. So guest speaker session this year, luckily, we got a connection and offer from these 2 organizations, Amnesty International and United Nations. First of all, United Nations, they offered us a virtual tour of United Nations in New York. So they introduced us how the conference is organized, how the conference room look like, and what kind of buildings are there. And then, furthermore, they gave us a brief speech about how United Nations carry out their peacekeeping. And then that was a really interactive session because they offered us what they're doing, which we cannot really see through our media unless we ask them directly. And then they also ask us our opinion on it. And then it even provided us more kind of motivation, also interest in working for UN as a volunteer or through internship in the future. On the other hand, Amnesty International, they offered us a guest lecture about human rights. It started off with online lecture. So we kind of got registered for Amnesty International Academy and then took the online courses. After that, we invited our guest, Mazen. He is working for Amnesty International for a long time as an educational coordinator. And then through the guest lecture, we were able to directly learn what Amnesty International do. Also, we could ask a lot of questions about our own country, about regarding any human rights issues happening in their own nations. And therefore, we could ask from the people who is working in the IGO or international organization directly, what kind of actions we as a student can take to contribute to solving the problem in our own countries. And that was also super interactive and very nice session. 最後に私の方からゲストスピーカーのセッションについて紹介させていただきます。本年度は2つの団体からゲストスピーカーを招待することができました。まずはじめに国際連合からのゲストセッションです。こちらはまずはじめにオンライン状況の中でバーチャルツアーといって国連の施設の中を体験見ることができました。例えば国連がどのような形で失礼しました。まずはじめに国際連合の中をツアーをするという体験をオンライン上ですることができました。施設はニューヨークにあるので普段見ることができないようなどのような建物や会議室があるのか、どのように国際連合で働く人々が会議を行っているのかをバーチャルツアーを通じて知ることができました。その後はゲストの方々が国連がどのように仕事をしてどのように平和を維持するのかということについてレクチャーをしていただきました。さらにその後は私たちもどのように国際連合に向けて働くことができるのか、どのようなインターンシップやどのようなボランティアをする体験が、機会が提示されているのかをこちらから直接聞くことができました。普段大学の授業やリサーチで目にする国際連合でも、しかしながらそのような経験談を実際に働いている人から聞く体験というのは ISC ならではの経験だったのではないかと思います。一方で、アムネスティ・インターナショナルは人権問題について運動を行っている団体です。こちらはアムネスティ・インターナショナルからミスター・マゼンというゲストの方を招待し、ゲストレクチャーを行っていただきました。レクチャーの前にはオンライン上でアムネスティ・インターナショナルが設定したレクチャーをオンラインで受けました。そのレクチャーはたったの2時間でしたが、大学では学ばないようなとても深い人権についての知識を得ることができました。そしてミスター・マゼンからはどのような形でアムネスティ・インターナショナルが人権問題について取り組んでいるのか、そして私たち若者や学生がどのようにアムネスティ・インターナショナルに協力できるのか、そして最後に私たちのそれぞれが住む国についてどのような活動をすれば問題が解決できるのかについて深く知ることができました。このように2つのとても著名な団体からゲストスピーカーを招き、たくさんの知識を得ることができたのは本当に貴重な機会だったと感謝をしております。それでは本年度のプログラムについてもう少し詳細に説明していきたいと思います。Can you go back to a slide one before? Thank you. So, in June, as I said, we recruited all the participants. After that, on June 25th and 26th, over the 2 days, we organized advanced conference where we basically opened this year's program. And we also the participants can get to know each other through the breakout room session. And basically they met for the first time. And then they plan how the conference should proceed by themselves together with table chief, and then our program has started. Over the July, we organized 4 sessions. And then through the 4 sessions, each participant could learn together within the team about their topics in detail. And then in August, from August 6th, the main conference had started. So during the main conference, we focused on solution instead of the issues itself. So we more focused on creating our final outcome, like policy proposal or academic paper. And then we more led to the solution, also realistically how or who should act on our each of the table topics. And then here we are, final forum. We're going to present and share what we have found, what we analyzed, and who we think should act on the designated issue. So that's here we are today. 6月の末に私が先ほど申しましたように参加者が確定いたしました。そして6月の末、6月の25日と26日には事前招集会を開催しました。事前招集会は他の言い方で言えば開会式の本年度のプログラムの開会式になりました。そこでは開会宣言をした後、参加者が初の顔合わせをし、お互いを知るような機会を得ました。さらに本年度は実行委員が会議のフォーマットを設定するのではなく、それぞれのテーブルがそれぞれのやり方でどのように会議を行えばいいのかということをテーブル内で話し合いました。そのようにすることによって、7月、8月をどのようにリサーチをしていくのか、どのような最終成果物を作り出すのか、そのようなことを話し合いました。7月は4回に分けてテーブルディスカッション、分科会議論を行いました。この分科会議論では、それぞれの参加者がそれぞれのテーブルトピックをよく知る、よくリサーチをして、たくさんの読み物をし、たくさんのものを見て、たくさん話し合いをし、それぞれのトピックについてただ知って知識を蓄積するという機会を設けました。同時に文化交流を通じてテーブルの枠組みを超えてお互いを知る、そのような機会も得ることができました。最後に8月の6日には本会議をスタートしました。本会議ではただトピックを知るだけではなく、実際に解決方法を導き出す、そのような点にフォーカスを当てました。解決方法はそれぞれ学術論文、または政策提言の形でプレゼント、そのような形で提示されます。ですから、そのような中で実際に現実的にどのように自分たちが学んだ分科会の問題について解決できるのかということをより深く考え、そして実際に提示する形に持っていくということにフォーカスを当てました。そして本日、成果発表会。こちらでは自分たちが話し、そして分析したさまざまな問題、さまざまな分科会について、実際に皆さんの目の前で提示する形によってプレゼンテーションを行います。プレゼンテーションは後ほど行われますので、楽しみにお待ちください。以上で私の方から本年度の活動についての紹介を終えさせていただきます。Like I said, this is all the presentation about our activity throughout this year. And then now we're going to move on to the next session. Thanks so much, Lam.
Thank you. From now on, our external affairs in charge, Yoko, and I would like to introduce all of the sponsors who have supported us throughout this year.
それでは次に障害担当の田中より、弊団体の活動に多大なるお力添えをいただいております、法人個人の皆様のご紹介に移らせていただきます。はじめに、ご協賛、ご講演いただきました企業様をご紹介させていただきます。株式会社ジャイロス様、株式会社トランスアクト様、株式会社アゴスジャパン様、ノモン株式会社様、株式会社シグマライズ様、株式会社ミライング様、そしてユースコンソーシアム株式会社ネオクラブ以上の方々よりご協賛、ご講演いただきました。
First, we would like to introduce the companies which sponsored ISC68. This year, we have acquired corporate sponsorships from various companies, including Jiros Corporation, Transact Company Limited, Agos Japan Company Limited, Nomon Company Limited, Sigmarise Company Limited, Mirai Company Limited, and Youth Consortium.
続きまして、ご支援いただきました財団様もご紹介いたします。国際教育振興会参助会様、双日国際交流団体様、財団様、そして三菱 UFJ 国際財団様、以上の方々よりご支援いただきました。
Next, we will introduce the foundation which subsidized our activities. This year, we have gathered patronage from various foundations, including International Education Centers Supporters Association Board, Socioeconomic Foundation, and Mitsubishi UFJ Foundation.
また、昨年度に引き続き、今年は5月20日から6月の17日までクラウドファンディング企画を実施いたしました。皆様の温かいご支援のおかげで、総額14万9000円の資金を集めることができました。多くの ISC、OB、OG の方々をはじめ、合計13名の方々にご支援をいただきました。
This year, we also carried out the crowdfunding projects from May 20 until June 17. Thanks to your support, we were able to raise the total amount of 149,000 yen. This year, we have received support from a total of 13 sponsors, including many ISC alumni, whose participation at ISC spans across multiple generations.
本年度の学術交流企画におきまして、多角的な視点を取り入れた質の高い議論を実現するため、各トピックに精通するメンターの方々や現場で活躍されている方々をお招きし、専門領域の視点から各分科会の活動へご指導、ご助力いただきました。
In this year's academic exchange program, to achieve a higher level of discussion, we have invited mentors and guest speakers who are very well versed in each topic to guide each table's activity from perspective of their specialized field. In addition, we would like to thank Amnesty International and the United Nations for providing lectures and workshops during the main conference. ISC68 would not have been possible without the kind support and assistance from all of our sponsors and partners. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to all of you who have been a vital part of our activity this year.
第68回国際学生会議は、皆様のご支援とご協力により実現されました。この場をお借りしまして、ご支援いただいた皆様に深くお礼申し上げます。誠にありがとうございました。
This is the end of our activity report. Next, we would like to move on to the presentations from all 5 tables.
以上、本年度の活動報告でした。これより各分科会による成果発表に移ってまいります。
In today's presentation, each table will present the final outcome of their chosen topic. This year, we have 4 topics related to different sustainable development goals.
本日の発表会では、各分科会が設定したトピックの研究成果を発表いたします。本年度は持続可能な開発目標、通称 SDGs の17のゴールに関連した4つのテーマが設定されております。具体的には、ジャーナリズム、フェイクニュースと偽情報の減少、国際法と南極問題、スマートモビリティとアクセシビリティ、最後にソーシャルワークと高齢者のケアです。
Each table is led by very passionate table chiefs who are very motivated to spread awareness and are willing to take initiative in encouraging people to collaborate and make a change. Together with the participants coming from various parts of the world, they all aim at finding solutions to existing problems with the hope of bringing positive impacts to the global society.
各分科会のトピックはテーブルチーフが率いています。彼らはトピックに対する問題意識を広めようとする意欲があり、人々が共同して社会に変革を起こすために分科会を率先してまいりました。世界各地から集まった参加者とともに社会にポジティブな変化をもたらすことを願いながら、社会課題への解決策を発見することを目指しております。
The order of the presentation is from table 1 to table 4.
発表の順番は分科1から分科4までとなっております。
We would now like to begin with table 1.
それでは、まず分科会1からプレゼンテーションを始めたいと思います。
First of all, we will start the presentation from Table 1. Table 1 discusses the phenomenon of fake news and misinformation and advocates for the importance of media literacy. After further research, they decided to further focus their topic on misinformation on social media, and it has become the main source of information for the majority of people. Furthermore, misinformation can be easily spread across countries and platforms, which further increases the dangers. According to research, most people have fallen victims to fake news due to their lack of media literacy and lack of fact-checking skills. The issue of fake news can range from confusion to doubt to fear to health complications and even to political unrest and tensions. Many countries have attempted to create their fact-checking sources on social media. However, this has not proven helpful to all, and it does not prevent the spread of misinformation. The research found that media literacy programs are most effective in educating people of all ages and providing them with the necessary skills to fact-check and realize the fake news from reliable ones on social media.
分科会1では、フェイクニュースと偽情報の減少、メディアリテラシーの重要性をテーマに議論いたしました。さらなる調査を行った結果、ソーシャルメディアが大衆にとっての主な情報源となっていることから、私たちの分科会では、ソーシャルメディアにおける偽情報に焦点を当てました。さらに、偽情報は国やプラットフォームの域を超えて簡単に広がってしまい、それがより一層危険性を増幅させてしまいます。研究によると、ほとんどの人々はメディアリテラシーやファクトチェックのスキルが十分ではなく、フェイクニュースの犠牲者となっています。そして、このフェイクニュースの問題は、混乱から疑念、恐怖、派閥争い、健康問題、そして政治的混乱や緊張に至るまで巨大な影響を与えているのです。多くの国々はソーシャルメディアにおけるファクトチェック資源の提供を試みていますが、偽情報の広がりを防ぐことができていない現状からもわかるように、そのファクトチェック資源はすべてにおいて反映されているわけではありません。そこで私たちの研究では、メディアリテラシー教育プログラムがすべての年代の人々にも最も効果的であり、そのプログラムにおいてファクトチェックに対する必要不可欠なスキルを提供することで、ソーシャルメディアにおいてフェイクニュースと信頼性のある情報を見分けることができるかについて議論しました。それではテーブル1の皆さん、よろしくお願いします。Table 1, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I would like to begin by introducing myself. I'm Rahma, the Table 1 table chief, and I would like to first of all introduce the participants. So special thanks to the participants, beginning with Yoko and JL, my subtable chiefs. We also have Ayman, Astrid, Marian, Natsumi, Takaya, Takiro. Now I would like to begin with the presentation. So our table topic is journalism, the phenomenon of fake news and misinformation and disinformation. First, I would like to go through the table of contents. Today, we will be talking about the introduction to fake news, explaining the importance of media literacy, explaining different government interventions with a special focus on the Netherlands and Singapore. Then we will present you with a video on fact-checking and then our survey on media literacy. And then we will end with suggesting different ways to fact-check. So first of all, what are fake news and what is the phenomenon? With the rise of social media and its accessibility, fake news have become very easily accessible and many people can be misled with the information. During the pandemic, especially, individuals and governments realized the significant negative effect fake news can have on people. While governments and individuals have attempted to combat fake news through different interventions, research shows that none of the attempts have successfully eradicated the fake news. Our table discusses the different interventions and attempts to decipher the best way for further research and through the further research and survey.
In this modern world, it is nearly impossible for us to live without social media. We are constantly surrounded by a huge amount of information, and some of the information has bad intentions in order to deceive people, which is called fake news. So what kind of fake news do we have? Most of the fake news is about political issues, people's health, or conspiracies, but any kind of information can be fake news unless the information has credible sources. So it is really important to make sure that the information has enough resources, no matter how reliable it seems. Then, what kind of effects fake news has on society or individuals? Fake news has countless impacts on society, but these are the main three effects. First, people have difficulty in distinguishing true information from fake news. And second, there might be unnecessary conflicts due to the fake news. And finally, people might be manipulated as those who have bad intentions want to. So now we are going to talk about how we can protect ourselves from fake news by media literacy.
With the proliferation of fake news, media literacy becomes more important than ever. It helps decrease our vulnerability to fake news through strengthening our ability to decode messages from various sources. It helps us understand the message beyond the surface level and critically analyze the content. It makes us assess the impact and influence of the messages on our society. With that, we also become responsible in utilizing media platforms through avoiding acts that will be harmful to others and instead spread factual, ethical, insightful, and critical content.
But even if the media literacy rate significantly rose over the years, there are still countries falling behind due to poverty and lack of access to education. Misinformation and disinformation also threaten the media literacy landscape among countries, so there is still a lot to accomplish.
And as a global need, media literacy can also be applied to every content we see, whether in the news, TV, and radio, printed materials, online content, advertisements, video games, and streaming services, among others. The benefits of media literacy expand to a long list. But to make it shorter, we are trained to be wiser and more responsible in consuming and producing information. Also, with the polarity of views online, becoming media literate encourages us to engage in respectful discourse and to form our views with a strong intellectual basis. This also builds citizenship by bridging the gap between different political views. Some countries have also initiated their own policies to combat fake news.
It's irrefutable that the proliferation of fake news urged the government to perform interventions in order to combat fake news in the respective countries. Among many countries in the world, there are a few common interventions that have been carried out. First, a number of countries arranged legislation related to fake news as the best approach to counter fake news. Consequences for fake news creators or disseminators will range from banning them from their platforms, fines, and even jail times. And a lot of governments are also branching to other interventions as well. The first one, namely providing mechanisms for fake news detection, which normally include a verification system through websites, hotlines, and etc. This way, the public can easily access verification and disprove fake news if they encounter one, and therefore also educate people to cope with hoax and unfounded rumors. And therefore, since a lot of fake news are roaming in social media and because governments alone would be insufficient to combat them, some governments have collaborated with social media companies to make sure that fake news does not disseminate easily. The mechanism will include manual verification, machine learning algorithm, and reporting system. And last but not least, some governments are integrating media literacy education into the formal education curriculum. This way, students from an early age can receive socialization on building wisdom and using the internet and social media, which would include building creative and critical skills on consuming and presuming contents. And thus, we will therefore try to observe the effectiveness of this particular solution by taking the Netherlands and Singapore as case studies.
We table one focused on Netherlands and Singapore. This is because media educational program for media literacy is not mandatory in Netherlands. However, on the other hand, education program for media literacy is mandatory in Singapore. So these two countries have opposite style. So therefore, the suitable for comparison as research countries. And we conducted a survey. We asked that question on what grade are you in and how often do you attend the media literacy program or workshop, and are you satisfied with that program? Like through this survey, we confirmed how effective the media literacy program is. And next speaker JL will show a short video.
All right, thank you, Takaya. For this video, we're going to be showing you a video about how fact-checking serves students from all around the world. Okay, you may now play it.
Stories are disseminated through print and digital media. Typically, fake news are most effectively spread through social media. On a societal scale, it creates confusion, fear, and factionalism. Civilians may be deceived by misinformation, influencing their political beliefs. Studies show that various countries are inflicted with issues of misinformation, with some places more vulnerable to the impact of fake news than others.
To understand how the phenomenon of fake news plays out in people's lives, we interviewed people from all over the world about their knowledge on fake news and fact-checking methods used.
Fake news is, in my opinion, just every wrong information shared online or in person.
For me, I think fake news is those misleading information or false information that can be found through non-credible sources.
I think it's news free from misleading information that probably comes from rumors or hearsay.
Fake news is news that does not report to what actually happened, or do report to what actually happened, but twist some of the idea which cause misunderstanding or illusion to the public opinion.
As individuals, how do we fact-check content we see? First, we should make sure to check the source and date of the content. If the source or publisher is not verified, it is safer to check other sources that are more trustworthy. If the date is not recent, the information could be taken out of context. Check also the grammar and tone of the content. Second, we should practice cross-referencing information with other sources. Note that all the sources must be credible. Third, we could also ask the experts for more information through their official social media pages and contacts. Fortunately, there are online fact-checking tools we can use to verify information. Several organizations, institutions, and publications created their own fact-checking initiatives shared to the public online. Displayed here are various fact-checking platforms from various countries and global institutions.
All right, okay. For the video, just a short explanation. We have intended to show different fact-checking methods that are done in various countries, such as in the Netherlands, we have the DPA fact-checking. In Singapore, we have the Straits Times fact-checking, and also we have verifilscheck.ph in the Philippines and the likes. And to show you the survey results and methods that were done during the study, we have Natsumi to explain it.
I'll now introduce the survey findings from a survey conducted in the Netherlands and Singapore. We received a total of 42 student respondents, predominantly enrolled in university or of university-going age. And although there are differences in the age range of university students, our survey focuses on their overall educational experiences throughout their schooling lives. While not all students are nationals of either country, they received a local education under the national curriculum. Most interestingly, the majority of respondents from each country, as seen on the right, have never attended media literacy workshops. Before we sent out the survey to our family and friends, we expected more Dutch to deny participating in these workshops as compared to Singaporeans. And this is because in the media literacy workshops or programs are not officially conducted in the Netherlands, and in contrast to Singapore, where these programs are integrated into school subjects. Now, I would like to introduce some survey trends. On the left side, on the top left, we can see that the majority of respondents are likely to use skills that they have learned from workshops, but as seen in the graph below that, much fewer respondents strongly agree that workshops they attended were effective.
One reason for this could be that some students are unaware that they have attended workshops, particularly Singaporean students. On the graph on the bottom left, we can see that all respondents are aware of the negative impacts of fake news, but only 70% are confident of applying their knowledge and skills in identifying fake news when they encounter them, as seen on the graph on the right. This highlights the importance of moving away from simply spreading awareness towards fake news towards developing applicable media literacy skills. Moving on to the next slide, I would like to introduce some areas of improvement in our research. So firstly, despite the large scope of our survey, where we chose to conduct the survey in the Netherlands and Singapore, this one limitation could be that choosing to conduct it in just these two countries limits our analysis of the relationship between media literacy skills and media literacy levels and fake news to these two countries' perspectives. Also, while we can closely compare both countries' education systems and fiscal policies implemented to counter fake news, an imbalance in survey sample sizes may influence our survey findings. Both the Netherlands and Singapore have high levels of media literacy, and to better understand the gaps that need to be filled in media literacy education, we could also have conducted the survey in a country with low media literacy. Nonetheless, this survey illustrates the different ways of understanding towards media literacy and fake news among Dutch and Singaporean students. And this is crucial in our understanding of the topic and highlights the importance of media literacy education in equipping students with relevant skills in preparation for our increasingly interconnected world. Now I'll pass the time on to Yoko.
Yes, next suggestion. So I like to say some sort of recap from my video. So first suggestion was that checking the source carefully by looking at publisher, date of the content, grammatical mistake, and tone of the context. Second suggestion was that comparing with other sources and check the credibility. The third one was that asking experts who are familiar with journalism or fact-checking if it is trustworthy or not. However, it is really hard to implement for all of us. So in that case, instead of that, fourth suggestion is that using online fact-checking tools, we put two examples, screenshots of the online fact-checking tools on this slide. And the left one is the Japanese one, and the right side is for international. And mainly contents they mainly work on is the social media, mainly on Twitter, politicians' remark, like what the Prime Minister said, posters from a certain official organization, and articles on the internet. So these are some sort of suggestions for my video, and especially online fact-checking tool is the most effective one to detect if the information is trustworthy or not.
Okay, so before I jump to the conclusion, so in it is shown that the countries like Netherlands and Singapore, they really came through with media literacy and identifying news through the objective lens. And then there are, of course, with in these days and age, there are obstacles that comes with it when we talk about a new media that comes today with the growing of social media, and it comes with the merit and the threat as well. And what I meant by merit here is that with social media prowess comes to surveys, the traction that comes from its platform, it becomes strong as well. And now this has a correlation on the potential that the social media and the news bears, which consists of like media outlets, which they bear the power to create masses through controversy posts, potentially, and this will benefit them with more traction, and thus it will create more money for them. And then the second one, they have the potential and the capability also to distract issue, and then onto the greater length. And then when the media becomes more advanced, as in today, their capability on making distracting issue has strengthened massively. Thus, will also make people forget the main issue at hand. And then also the news today, also they have the power to become the progenitor of like a certain voice. due to social media existence gives a chance for the audience to voice their opinion. This could then create a mass of certain opinion and potentially turn it into something definitive rather than an opinion. So it is a dangerous thing, but it is also a powerful thing. And I think that countries like Netherlands and Singapore, they really came through on like learning through it. So onto the next one, which conclude our presentation with the results that is shown on the screen right now. A brief result of our survey. It shows that all of them that answers the surveys aware of the media literacy, and it really shows that countries like Singapore and Netherlands are a step above other countries. They are a step behind, and we can really tell that it's time for generations about the mindset of identifying news through the objective lens, and it becomes like subconscious thing among these countries, and it is a good thing. And in countries like Netherlands, it is also become a part of inclusivity, where people are contributing towards the voice with the government as well. So yeah, all in all, countries like Netherlands and Singapore, they really came through with the media literacy. I think that is all from our group.
Yes, thank you for all the participants, and thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much, Table 1, for your presentation. Next, we will move on to the presentation of Table 2. Well, Table 2 is focused on defining and evaluating legal issues in the Arctic region. We looked through the Arctic region issues into much more big scale and divided the tables into 5 small groups to focus on the issues of national security, living animals, shipping routes, indigenous people, and melting ice with environmental issues over the Arctic. Each topic has different problems and also solutions, such as with melting ice issue for the environmental changes over the Arctic region. The solution could be needing more international support from international organizations. By this way, members did a studies workshop only within Table 2. After presentation, everyone could comment on others' work and also to reflect on their own policy proposals.
次にテーブル2の発表に移ります。テーブル2は北極圏における法的問題の定義と評価に焦点を当て、北極圏の問題をより大きなスケールで捉え、特に国家安全保障、生物、航路、先住民、北極圏の環境問題を含む氷の融解の問題を中心に5つの小さなグループに分かれました。例えば、北極圏の環境変化をもたらす氷の融解問題では、国際的な組織からより多くの支援を得ることが解決策になるなど、それぞれのテーマには異なる問題点と解決策があることを見つけました。これまでテーブル2の中で勉強会を行い、お互いの発表に議論を重ね、それぞれのフィードバックを政策提案に反映させました。それではテーブル2の皆さん、よろしくお願いいたします。テーブル2、the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Angel Chu and I'm a table chief of Table 2. So first of all, I'm gonna share my scoring and begin our today's presentation. So our table's topic is mainly focused on international law and defining and evaluating the legal issues in the Arctic regions. And this is our table members. And thanks for sub-table chiefs, Zaki, Evan, and Lan for supporting our tables from the very beginning and until today's main conference. So, and also for our group members, we have they have rich background of knowledges and also countries. So we have members from South Korea, India, and also for me, I come from People's Republic of China. So here's our table members' pictures, and a very thanks for you all to the hard work from June, the advanced conference and today's panel forum. So these are our guidelines for today's presentation. First, I'm gonna begin with introductions. So our tables divided the group members into five parts. First one is national security, and as well as indigenous people, so living animals, melting ice with environmental issues, and also last but not least is shipping rules questions. Now let's begin with first part, introduction. So when we talk about Arctic regions issues, what kind of things have in your mind? It is polar bears, penguins, and all as well as the melting ice in the Arctic regions. And indigenous people also become a serious questions. Now they're seeking their living rights over the Arctic region. And also for the shipping rules problems and all the problems and issues they are taking for the international corporations in a more big scale to ask for other countries' help. So I hope through today's our group's presentations, you can get a brief image and map and mind about Arctic regions issues that are happening and over in there. So now I will hand over my mic to Isamu.
Okay, thank you. Now we will briefly explain the path we took as a table. First, we held several study sessions where we watched videos and scanned through reports and articles about the issues occurring in the Arctic and to identify the issues occurring in the Arctic. Then we had a small discussion on what we all think about the issues and discussed on which issues to focus on. After deciding which issues to focus on, we separated the table into 5 groups, depending on which issue the table members are interested in. And in each group conducted a further research on the chosen issue. After the research, we had a session where all the groups presented their findings on the issue they focused on. And by taking into account the feedback which each group have received after the presentation, we have started writing the policy proposal and finally put it all together to produce the final version of the document. Now, I will hand over the virtual mic to Hiyori.
Okay, so the first, let me start our part, national security. And we are thinking that here are 2 issues regarding to the Arctic security. One is a few countries relate themselves to the issues despite its global-wide significance from a perspective of national security. And one is deficiency of legal and political structure which guarantees the security order of the area. And let me explain one by one. And let me explain the first point that a few countries relate themselves to the issue. Actually, in the Arctic, there are 2 axes of collision extended. And one is NATO versus Russia, and one is China versus the US. And if the collision between the NATO and Russia will be extended in the Arctic, that will greatly affect the European countries' security. And if the collision between China and the US will be extended in the Arctic, that will greatly affect the Asian Pacific countries. And that means that shows like the Arctic plays a really significant role in the security of all over the world. However, currently only adjacent nations are dealing with the security of the area, and that is really problematic. And let me focus on this next point, deficiency of legal and political structure. And as I mentioned in the previously, there are really big 2 axes of collisions, and however, only adjacent nations are dealing with this, and namely only the members of the Arctic councils. However, unfortunately, currently due to invasion of Ukraine, even the Arctic Council doesn't work well. And so that's why that means like we cannot like flexibly deal with this problem currently. And next slide, please. So in order to solve those issues, we made two policy proposals. And one is to establish a framework for Arctic security, including non-adjacent nations with the area. Another one is to take an initiative for Japanese government to take an initiative to make an agreement to prevent arbitrary invasion into the Arctic. So since time is limited, I want to show you the benefits for Japan by taking a policy and taking an initiative to solve the issue. And there are two benefits for Japan. One is that will raise the diplomatic reputation of Japan. Another one is that will enable Japan to directly interfere with China's attempt to expand their power to the area, which will consequently lead to the defense of Japanese territory from the menace of China. So that's the end of my part. So I will hand over Nevi-san, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then. Okay, then I will talk about the indigenous people. Like firstly, the issue is that the natives living in Arctic form a mixed economical system, and their flow of cash is combination of hunting, fishing, and traditional clothing. However, due to the climate change, as the reindeer gradually disappeared, the reindeer, which is very helpful for them, gradually disappeared, and the economy of the natives was also severely damaged. In particular, the native people living in coastal areas lose their homes, including food security and the transportation routes, as the glaciers melt by the climate change. And next slide, please. So so there are several suggestions from us. First, the raising the world's interest in polar regions of more than before. It means to grab the attention from the worldwide, that not just the where is the polar area, but we should focus on the polar area lifestyle or customs of the cultures more deeply than before. And it can be solved by the education, and it will be very helpful to motivate to know about the polar area. And second, the reproviding the life of the polar natives. As I already mentioned, the natives in polar area losing their homes because of the glaciers melting. So my suggestion is creating an artificial island like the Maldives, and it would be very helpful for it. It can provide a new area to live the new life, and it will be connected to guaranteeing the right of survival. And third, to protect the traditions and their identities as much as possible, but to enable them to coexist in modern society. For the modifications, there will be many, some people criticize that it will lose their identity as the natives identity. So for example, so so the globe worldwide should guarantee their identity and traditions, and it will be premised to coexist with each other. And this is the end of my speech, and I will give turn to the next person.
Okay, so I am going to talk about animals living in the Arctic region. This time we focus on polar bears. And there are 20,000 to 25,000 polar bears in the world. But scientists say that unless more is done to tackle climate change and environment pollution, and polar bears will be wiped out by the end of the 21st century. That's why we highlight the problem related to polar bears. Polar bears feed mainly on seals. They use fat for several ways to survive in the frigid environment. And now PUPs have a big negative effect on them. PUPs means persistent organic pollutants are fat solubility and accumulate in their fat tissue easily. So they are affected easily than other animals because they eat mainly high-fat diet. Pups are coming from places far away from the Arctic region through wind and water. Next slide, please. And the Stockholm Convention is a global treaty to protect human and environment from pups. In this convention, governments should take measures to eliminate and reduce the release of pups into natural environment. Over 152 countries, including Japan, ratified the convention on 17 May 2004. The Stockholm Convention holds 5 essential goals, and based on this convention, Japan has taken several measures. Next, please. And this response to these measures, we will propose policy proposals below. First, current situation in the Arctic region should be informed in an educational institution. If people don't recognize that animals of Arctic region, including polar bears, are in a critical situation, they don't take that situation seriously and take measures for this. Second, cooperate more with other countries to take some measures to protect the environment. Until now, the government of Japan worked together with foreign organizations, and the efforts of East Asian countries are relatively behind in technology. So we expect to develop the institution, not only East Asia and but also other countries to monitor and manage the situation in the worldwide scale. That's end of my turn. So now I'd like to hand it over to Haruka.
We would like to introduce the problem of melting ice. Since the early 1900s, due to human activity, many glaciers have been melting at a rapid rate. In fact, the Arctic glaciers are melting at the rate of almost 13% per decade, and over the past 30 years, the oldest and thickest ice in the Arctic has declined by a stunning 95%. They are causing rise in the sea level, more frequent coastal storms, rise in air temperature worldwide, food shortages, and loss of wildlife. Next, please.
So our solution to this issue, we have been thinking of the solution of this issue, and we would like to propose from taking into account the existing agreements and policies. And by analyzing them, we came up with the solution that we should implement an international agreement on implementing carbon border taxes on all countries which agree on the pact. Yes, thank you. And the policy proposal in more detail. The policies or the agreements which we have referred to was the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, carbon taxes, which are implemented in 27 countries, including the European Union, and the carbon border tax, which has not been implemented yet, but is being discussed within the European Union. And regarding the downsides of the policies which I have just mentioned, policies or agreements we have just mentioned, we have decided to add the following points in particular in our policy proposal. The first point is to have the world's largest and fastest growing economies to join the pack. To name some nations: the United States, China, and India. This point was not accomplished in the Kyoto Protocol, so this point is a reflection to the Kyoto Protocol. And another point is to implement a penalty for failing to meet the agreements. Now, this point is a reflection to the Paris Agreement, which failed to add a penalty in their agreement. So the penalty that we have thought of is to impose an extra tariff on all goods and services, which a country which fails to meet the agreements, they export. And now I would like to, and this is the end of the melting ice area. So I would like to hand the virtual mic to Q. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I will go through the shipping rules issues in the all Arctic regions. So first of all, with shipping rules issues in the Arctic world, they are applying effects on global warming and become hot issues. With the sea ice decreasing, making the use of the Arctic Ocean as a shipping routes become necessary. So in our table, we are mainly focused on the following issues, which are the economy of the Arctic shipping routes, which mainly focus on the cost performance of NSR. NSR means no certain routes in the Arctic routes, and also for the environmental changes in the Arctic regions. And next, we are mainly focused on the international law, and if the new system is expected for the UNCLOS as well as for the article are come up with in Arctic region. And next one is the fair use spaceships over the Arctic regions. And next, this is our solutions for the shipping rules problems. To seek more international cooperations from other countries and organizations to find more shipping rules problems, and also find new possibilities for cooperating with other countries, especially the countries who are go through their EEZ area, which are Canada and Russia. And next one is through some NGO and also NPO, non-profit organizations, to let more people know that the current situations are happening in the Arctic region. So we can know that more young generations and also as well as other non-government people to find more solutions and also to put more effort on the Arctic region's issues. But lastly is a brand new international law system is expected for the Arctic regions. And overall, this is the end of Table 2's presentations. And very deeply thanks to all the table members for working very hard for creating these presentations and also for writing the policy proposal. And also thank you everyone for coming to this for our final forum. And this is all about our presentations for Table 2. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you very much. So Table 2 has received support of mentorships of professors from Yohoku University, Nishimoto Kentaro, and Professor Kano Naoyuki from Nihon University. Thank you very much for all of your support.
なお、テーブル2の活動では、洋北大学の教授様、西本健太郎様、加納直之様、日本大学の教授からメンターシップ制度をいただきました。ご支援ありがとうございました。
Next, we will move on to the presentation from Table 3. Table 3 is focusing on smart and accessible mobility, which is one of the most important issues in various cities around the world. Throughout the study sessions, all members have done several discussions to dig deep into their knowledge on smart mobility concepts and the importance of accessibility in mobility. Table 3 have several outputs: research report, presentation, and social media initiative through Table 3's Instagram account, which aims to raise awareness of the ongoing problems on acts that have been taken by cities to tackle the problems relating to mobility.
テーブル3は世界のさまざまな都市で最も重要な課題の一つであるスマートモビリティとアクセシビリティに焦点を当てたものです。勉強会を通じてメンバー全員がスマートモビリティの概念やモビリティにおけるアクセシビリティの重要性について知識を深めるために何度もディスカッションも行いました。テーブル3は報告書、プレゼンテーション、そしてインスタグラムアカウントを通じたソーシャルメディアへの取り組みを通じてその成果を対外的に発信していきました。また、学びを深めていくにあたり、ITDP インドネシアに所属するディランギ・シュレンガーさんには講義をしていただき、メンターとしてカジャマダ大学のズルフィカ・プツラさんに指導していただきました。それではテーブル3の皆さん、よろしくお願いいたします。Table 3, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Arigatou gozaimasu. Hello, good morning and good afternoon. My name is Alia. I am the table chief of Table 3. Throughout July until yesterday, last Friday, Table 3 had our study session that are focusing on smart and accessible mobility in cities, which we also had a guest lecture from a researcher from ITDP Indonesia, and we had mentorship for a lecturer from Universitas Gadjah Mada, Indonesia. Today, we are going to present our results of studying and teamwork. Aside from this presentation, we will also have several outputs from the conference, which is a research report that will be released by the end of this month, and social initiative by activating our Instagram as an effort to raise awareness on mobility and accessibility issues and innovation from around the world. Then, meanwhile, we will introduce our table members.
Hello, my name is Minhua, and I am in charge of sub-table chief of Table 3. I will introduce all our table members. Anjali from India, Ryuji from Japan, Chavi from India, Chanchal from India, Danish from India, and Natalia from Germany. Next, please. And this is our agenda for today. First, we will present our research background, including the methods and the aims. Next, we will present the case studies from our table members. Then we will present things that we can learn from the cities. Finally, we will serve our conclusion and recommendations. Now we are going to present our work.
Thank you so much, Minhua, for your introduction. So today, based on the UN 2018, by 2050, almost 65% of the world populations are expected to be living in cities. Over time, the world cities continue to grow and expand, which is starting to generate numbers of issues, especially in the aspect of mobility. In recent years, technology advancement adopted for urban management creates the concept of smart mobility, which then becomes a framework to address mobility issues by incorporating digital technologies to quickly capture mobility problems in a real-time manner as a result, the authority can decide on the solution. However, smart mobility solution does not capture the problems and needs of all groups in cities yet. While smart mobility should be sustainable, safe, and accessible, improve transportation, and meets citizen mobility needs. In our research, we are focusing on the smart mobility dimension framework that are presented in the slide. And from the background and the framework, two questions arises. One, how to improve accessibility in smart mobility of cities so all group of people can be accommodated in mobilizing, and second, how to maximize smart mobility technology, infrastructure, and system. Next, we are going to enter the case studies from around the world, which is 4 cities from India, and then Singapore, Japan, Germany, and Indonesia. And we're going to use the approaches of smart technology to increase accessibility and mobility, and smart method to improve accessibility and mobility. And we are using qualitative through case studies method. We having the aims to find the commonalities and differences between cities, and then find the typology of problem, solution, and groups that are left behind in smart mobility dimension. And then we're going to compare and introducing the variants of digital technologies used by each cities. And finally, we are going to give recommendations that are going to be useful for local governance or other parties.
Thank you for explaining what smart mobility is and our purpose. I'm Miu, the sub-table chief of table 3. So how are these actually working and showing up in cities around the world? Here, each table member will discuss the results of his or her own research on the city, which caught our interest. Now I would like to pass the mic to Shavi.
Thank you, Mio. So this case study focuses on Delhi Metro, the mass rapid transit system serving Delhi and its satellite cities. The network consists of 10 color-coded lines that can be seen on this screen, serving 255 stations with a total length of more than 300 kilometers. To counter the issues of intense traffic congestion, increased air pollution, and major concern of safety of residents on an everyday basis, the Delhi Metro was initiated as a cost-effective mode of travel, thus covering the spatial, temporal, and psychological dimensions respectively, as has been discussed before. With its unique structure, it has successfully catered to these issues, with its most significant achievement being recognition from the UN for its environment-friendly construction. Moreover, it is the first railway project in the world to earn carbon credits and has so far earned 400,000 carbon credits. However, as every other advancement, it does have certain shortfalls, as can be viewed on the screen, which call for need-based revisions. Some examples being high development cost, displacement of urban poor population, difficult to acquire land when it comes to land expansion, shortfall in ridership like what was seen in the COVID pandemic, increase in cost of parts, and the mass displacement of poor people and resultant legal concerns. Next, we move to the city of Bangalore, India. This case study parallels the one in Delhi in both situation and solution. The 1990s saw an IT boom in India with a huge influx of people in the city of Bangalore, which the city wasn't built for. So they introduced a project that we focus on, which is called the first suburban railway project in India by the BSRP, or the Bangalore Suburban Railway Project. It serves as an extension to the pre-existing metro, connecting important regions, junctions, and districts. The advantage of this is that it takes vehicles away from the streets and does not require any revamp of current systems like road expansion, which may prove to be worse, like that happened in the case of Delhi, or the introduction of new technology that is not yet ready to be used on a mass scale like EV or electronic vehicles. That's it for Bangalore. Next, we are going to move to the village RV in India.
Now, this study taken through the survey of villages, as they are measures taken under consideration for the development of city in smart and accessible mobility. Even though there are some facilities, but they are not that much accessible for the people. Due to congested of roads, the accidents happen and innocent pedestrian and cyclist people hurt in accident. Now it's called for the action to improve all infrastructure and transportation facilities in the villages as per the smart and accessible mobility concern. Next, we move to the Delhi.
Yeah, so this case study focuses on the children-friendly streetscapes in Delhi. Nowadays, children are spending their time more in their homes rather than carrying out any activities on the streets, such as cycling, walking, running, and playing. So I did a case analysis on how friendly and safer are Delhi streets for children. The current scenario of the Delhi streets is like children are unable and don't express eagerness to walk out from their homes to buy something or to spend some time outside and playing or running. So maybe due to the various reasons like high congestion issues, narrow walk streets make uncomfortable, and unaesthetic view of the streets don't seem to be playful and learning experience for children. So the vision should be to create a smarter, safer, greener, playful, and learning environment for children. I did the SWOT analysis of the subject area where the strengths are to advance the motor skills and build a sense of independence among children. The weakness would be children will end up spending more time outside rather than studying, and the risk and also risk the physical injuries. So whereas the opportunities would be to make more colorful streets to attract children with innovative designs to provide learning space to them, and threat could be possibly that it may give rise to concerns of kid safety and likely injuries while playing. I would like to close this case by quoting Enrique Peñalosa, former mayor of Bogota, said, "If we can build a successful city for children, we will have a successful city for all." Now we are going to Tokyo, Japan.
Thank you, Anjali. Next, I would like to introduce a case study of Tokyo. Japan has been working on smart cities throughout the country in recent years, and one of the most advanced efforts in taking place is Takeshiba in Japan, and which is the Abe city. Takeshiba has several modes of transportation, and various technology have been used to smooth them out. One example is a collaboration among transportation companies. It makes it possible to use the same period transportation cards for all transportation systems. Next, we are going to Singapore.
This case study focuses on Singapore transportation, with Singapore facing urban mobility challenges such as land and manpower constraints, an aging population. There are rising expectations for a comprehensive and efficient public transport system. Autonomous vehicles were introduced to meet these expectations. An autonomous vehicle is a vehicle capable of sensing its environment and operating without human involvement. The human passenger is not required to take control of the vehicle at any time, nor is a human passenger required to be present in the vehicle at all. I did SWOT analysis of the subject and real where strengths are at the advance of efficiency and convenience of transportation. Weakness would be reducing drivers' employment, whereas the opportunities would be increasing opportunities to ride in a car, and threat would be unclearness of the driving responsibility of when accidents happen. Next, we are going to Germany.
As for Ludwigshafen, we're talking about the infrastructure. The city is an industrial one, which was planned as a city for cars after its large deconstruction in the Second World War. But the lack of maintenance and planning led many roads and even bridges to the neighboring city to be closed or under construction. Also, there is deconstruction of many infrastructural parts planned that are not in use. The resulting issues are large traffic jams, larger detours, and loss of time and money, of course, of the people participating in traffic. We hope that the city can learn from their past planning and improve as a location in an industrial area. Now, finally, let's go to Jakarta.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Now I'm going to introduce one of the smart mobility implementation in the sense of mobility ecosystem in Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta itself has a problem of public transportation integration because we have so many various transportation modes that we can choose as a inhabitant. In recent years, Jaklingko, one of the company in Jakarta, is an integration system that exists in between the people, which the purpose is to integrate between all the transportation modes, including the application for the maps and the route findings, and then payment cards, and then also the transportation modes itself. And then in the transportation and the station itself, they are also serve designated facilities for people who are with disabilities. But I'm going to present the problems in Jakarta is that the various transportation modes are not integrated, and then the route is complicated, and then there is a different standard of services for disability group. But the action which is already done by the government and also the Jaklingko company is that technology improvement for the public transportation integration, which is including the payment application and the routes and the wayfindings and then other things. And then the second one is the service improvement for disability people, which is adding the technologies, infrastructure, etc.
So let us wrap up. What can we learn from all those case studies? Our first question was how to improve accessibility and smart mobility of cities so all groups of people can be accommodated in mobilizing. Our points are to make sure that the voices of people and their needs are heard and to plan accordingly to the city's current needs while also thinking about the sustainable future visions. How to maximize smart mobility technology infrastructure and the systems. We propose on working with and improving upon the structures that are already there, keeping the needs of the people living there and working there and going to the cities, of course, in mind. Something we also recommend is a larger representation of mobility as a service. It is a technological way to solve the problem of transportation challenges. It addresses the gap between public and private transport operators. Moreover, the various systems cooperating with one another. It integrates all transportation, for example, buses, planes, taxis, as one service to run smoothly in the transportation infrastructure. So the main takeaway points, very general with examples, are that city relies on proper and working infrastructure. So realistic planning is needed, like we witnessed with the example of Ludwigshafen. The implementation of new innovations like smart technology brings potential for improving our cities, as we have witnessed with Jakarta and Tokyo, for example. Not only can transportation made more efficient, but it grants also economic growth for the cities. So not only the living standard for the people is improved, but also the representatives have a real economic reason to improve their urban structures. So we can say smart mobility leads to efficient improvement.
Thank you, Natalie. Coming on to the recommendations, as the members of Table 3, here are a few recommendations that we should take for action to increase the accessibility and mobility smartly. First, to utilize existing infrastructure and services to be improved by smart technology. Second, to maximize technology to boost the existing infrastructure, services, and integration. Third, to use a bottom-up approach to gather the occurring problems in the geographical context. And lastly, to be attentive of existing group of people, wherein it becomes significant that we always keep in mind the human lens to always make any sort of advancement comfortable for every person living in a city or anywhere in the world. That's it for the recommendations. Over to Mio.
Okay. To wrap up, we're eager to raise awareness of accessibility and mobility smartly in our cities, and this is our first step. Thank you so much for being present today.
Thank you very much, Table 3, for your presentation. This year, Table 3 has received academic support from various people, including Ms. Deliani Siraga, from ITDP Indonesia for giving lecture session, and Ms. Zurbika Putra from University of UJM as a mentor. Thank you all very much. So lastly, we would now like to move on to the presentation from Table 4 with the topic on social work practice with elderly discuss various issues faced by the elder in Japan. So after analyzing the issues of population aging and interlinking between different perspectives, they were able to narrow down the topic into elderly health. The table topic and research aims towards achieving the development of more responsive services and policies to make our society inclusive of the elderly. In order to focus on various aspects of elderly health, the group has divided into 3 subgroups, each focus on the subtopics of health, access to health in terms of financial resources like pensions, insurance, etc., and human resources, like skills and people providing healthcare facilities to the elderly. Along with this, the table has also come up with an app prototype for the elderly. The table through the policy proposal is determined to ensure the inclusivity of every single individual.
次にテーブル4の高齢者のソーシャルワーク実践をテーマに、日本の高齢者が直面するさまざまな問題について議論した発表に移りたいと思います。高齢者の問題をさまざまな視点から分析し、高齢者の健康にテーマを絞り込むことができました。このテーブルディスカッションと研究は、高齢者を受け入れる社会を実現するために、より迅速なサービスや政策の開発を達成することを目的としています。高齢者の健康のさまざまな側面に焦点を当てるために、グループは3つのサブグループに分かれ、それぞれ健康、年金、そして保険などの財源に関する健康へのアクセス、高齢者に医療施設を提供する技術や資源などの人的再現というサブトピックに焦点を当てました。また最後に高齢者向けのアプリのプロトタイプも作成しました。政策提言を通じて一人一人のインクルージョンを確保することを決意しています。それではテーブル4の皆さん、よろしくお願いいたします。テーブル4、The floor is yours.
Thank you, Lady. So good afternoon, everyone. Lady. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is India. I'm from Indonesia and I'm part of External Affairs of ISC68 and sub-table C for table 4. I will introduce our table C, Prior Tale from India, and my mate sub-table C are Angelica Roldan from Philippines and Mai Ochai from Japan. Our table members are Lady from Philippines, Dival and Purva from India, Tinsi from South Africa, and Ibrahim from Mauritania. Due to some health and other reasons, our table C, Friel, and other two members, Purva and Ibrahim, will not join us, but instead, Ibrahim will give presentation by video. So table 4, with the topic on social work practice with elderly, discussed the various issues faced by the elderly in Japan. After analyzing the issues of population aging and interlinking with different perspectives, they were able to narrow down the topic to elderly health. The table discussion and research aims towards a saving development of more responsive services and policies to make our society inclusive of the elderly. In order to focus on the various aspects of elderly health, our group was divided into 3 subgroups, as Lan said before, and along with this, we also came up with an application prototype for the elderly. So this table, through the policy proposal, is determined to ensure the inclusion of every single individual. And we hope you enjoy this presentation. And Lady, move to you.
One of the subtopics that we had was the isolation and the health of the elderly. So issues related to healthcare are frequently discussed, especially with regards to the elderly. This is because the elderly are said to be more vulnerable to sicknesses. This includes both physical and mental health. Physical health affects mental health and vice versa, and so both of this needs to be addressed. Social isolation is not an uncommon phenomenon, and it may affect health directly or indirectly. And this is particularly significant in old age because of reduced social networks, decreasing economic resources, and changes in family structures. However, not all the elderly are isolated just because they live alone. We have seen cases where elderly commit crimes in Japan because they are lonely, despite some of them still having a family and still living with their families. Steps should be then taken for the elderly to feel that they are still connected and are part of the society or the community. Starting simple, such as social groups, is good, but so is doing something that requires more time and effort, like a smartphone application. Moving on to the next subgroup on socioeconomic concerns, here's Divyal.
Thank you, lady. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever they are. And I'm going to present on the social economic status and the elderly. So starting with, there is a vast disparity in terms of pension remunerations. If we see in terms of males and females in Japan, so where males are receiving a pension of around $3,800, whereas females are at the same time receiving the pension of around $2,400. These statistics was taken from the survey in the year 2017. So what is the factor that is leading to it? So the Japanese pension system has not been modified since 1980. Since the society has come forwards in leaps and bounds, there are various problems that are emerging through it, such as the non-recognition of single women, elderly women in the society, as the Japanese pension system recognized the institutions of marriage. Now, that leads to the third problem, which is in response, when there is no provision such pension schemes, it can lead to a debt trap for single elderly women. And moving to the next slide, which will be presented by my friend Ibrahim.
Good morning. My name is Ibrahim from Mauritania. So I'm going to talk about socioeconomic status of the elderly. So when we talk about socioeconomic in case of the elderly, especially in Japan, so we have to talk about poverty in general amongst the elderly. So this phenomenon is apparent in elderly over 75 years. Also of note is the number of people over 80 years. The number had increased from 4% to 8% since 2000 and is likely to double by 2050, which means we have to do something because we're still in 2022. To about, by 2050, to about 16.5%. The poverty rate is something to watch out for, especially for the elderly women population at the pension schemes local, but it is not which could be explained through the pension remuneration that the men and women are entitled to receive during the retreatment. For men is around $3,800. For women, it is around $2,500. So by here we can see the inequality of gender. In this case of the elderly, women and men, they are not equal. So there is a pretty high chance for women to be falling below the poverty line who do not adhere to the earlier norms of society. The elderly in Japan accounts for 29.1% of the population, and this number is accounting for all those 65 and over, making that about 36.4 million people. So, as medicine and technology improve, people will generally live longer than they did before. Bearing in mind the figure, we can estimate that from the retirement age of 65 till the age that you pass on. Here we can talk also about the transport, because the transport all with the reduced income. This is best true as some older persons, they opted to move to rural areas in hopes of carrying the living cost, as it would cost a lot to stay in their current places. So the social economic issues is really here, especially in Japan, and we have to deal with it before 2050. Brothers and sisters, thank you very much, and you can read our research proposal. Maybe it will be very easy for you to get more information, and thank you very much.
Okay, I will be doing the following part. Hello, my name is Boskona Dinsolo Kumalo. And then I'll be doing the socioeconomics and the elderly. When we look at socioeconomics, what we're looking at is the financial implications and how they interfere with the person's daily life and society at large. A study done in Japan on pension estimates that 25% of the elderly women will be living below the poverty line in the near future. And this number can increase to 50% for unmarried and divorced women. According to the figures from an official population census in 2010, the percentage of never married and divorced women among the elderly women in the increase from 15.4% and 11.9% in 2015 to increase to about 17.6 and 12.7% in 2050. This being said, we can see that the finances are the leading factor that cause poverty and also the societal issues that are faced by the elderly. Next slide. Okay, the findings. A study showed that elderly people that struggle with poverty opted to rather, can you hear me well? Self-deprivation, opted rather for self-deprivation. This meant that they decided that they would rather cut down on necessities, things like refrigerators, air conditioning, transport, and medicine, or going to the hospital, and would rather isolate themselves because they do not want to burden their families, or they do not have families that they can have support from, or any other care system that they can reach out to. Okay. The older adults are the elderly that are all facing these problems, and it is our job as society to ensure that they have a way to be included and they are not left behind. Because if we leave them behind, then it doesn't mean that society is functioning well. Thank you.
Okay, so for the findings, we also divided this into two. So on the two are on the isolation and on socioeconomic problems. So for the isolation and the health of the elderly, isolation or being disconnected from the rest of society can affect health, maybe not entirely directly, but it does have an impact. An example of this is shown in a certain documentary of an old man who died because of malnutrition. Interestingly, this could have been prevented, or his death could have been prevented, if he had decided to get out of isolation and to actually visit a hospital, as the social workers had told him. Still, this is under-researched and underexplored. It is indeed important to fill in the gaps of the previous studies about isolation and loneliness and health. Interventions in the form of social activities or applications they can use are a must in cases like this. In the end, what should be addressed are the problems that cause people to feel lonely or isolated. It is also important to address the in-between problems which lead isolated elderly to suffer from poor health and for sickly elderly to endure isolation. Next, for the findings on socioeconomic status and the elderly, Devyal.
Yeah. Thank you, Lady. Now coming to the moving forward in that section to the next section of the socio-economic status. The findings are that the elderly population has to face huge stress. It's if we see in terms of Japan, in terms of rest of the country, the Japanese system is doing good in this sense because they have some kind of social insurance schemes for the elderly. But if we see in moving towards a much bigger picture to the underdeveloped countries and the third world countries, there is a problem that a lot of countries such as India, people, the percentage of this old age homes are increasing, as well as the elderly have a lot of stress in this concern that after their retirement age, after they have given all their life to the children, they have to shift to a home where they'll be dealing with by a third person, not their children. Secondly, now coming back to Japan, if we see from different threats, the culmination, the retirement age comes from a range from 65 to 70 years. And Japan being one of the developed countries where people, the huge population reach to the age of 100, there are still 20 years left after their retirement where elderly people can contribute toward the economy, Japanese economy. So the Japanese government can come up with such initiatives to help us integrate the elderly. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, didn't see. Yeah, you can go.
Okay. As I have previously mentioned, others are choosing self-deprivation in order to be able to afford their basic necessities. This means that they are compromising their health, and this leads to weakened immune systems and also death. As Lady had mentioned before, that they would rather isolate than go out to ask for help. The elderly people have no support, especially because they don't wish to burden anybody and would rather live life alone and socially isolate themselves. Our solution to this would be, as we've previously mentioned, an app so that we open a scenario for them where they can willingly ask for help and know that they're not burdening anybody, but they have people that are there, are willing to help them and are ready to help them. Next slide, please. The elderly have to live at the standard that they used to live when we're looking at retirement, because now that they have retired, they have to basically continue living. It's not just the end. Now, the problem that they face when this happens is that they have to live on less at the same level. So they have to live in the same place, afford the same things, or even afford more in the case of deteriorating health. And they're doing all of this with less money, and also they are sometimes physically unfit and are not longer able to get a job, or they are at an age where finding employment is very difficult, but they need the money because Japan has a very high standard of living and is one of the most expensive countries to live in. Thank you.
Okay, so for the next part, we'll be explaining our methodology as well as the application that we have conceptualized. So for the methodology of how we came up with this app, we use content analysis approach. So we read a lot, and then based on everything that we gathered, an application was conceptualized out of all those things. So introducing our application, it's called the EdCare. So EdCare will feature different services that will help the elderly. So later on, I would be showing a video showcasing these features. So the app contains various features to keep everything in one place so that there is no hassle for the elderly. This aims to make day-to-day necessary tasks easier. The goal is that it should be available in many languages, but for the prototype, we just used English. However, there are still some limitations, such as it may not cover for those with technological illiteracy and people who do not have smartphones. This means the target audience or the target population are people currently in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, or the future elderly, because they know how to operate a smartphone. So when they grow older, they will know how to use the application. But still, there is a need for the government to make technological literacy more accessible so that even the older people can use this app. Likewise, there are still limited functionalities in our prototype, as please take note that it's just a prototype and it requires user authentication. The prototype is made by one of our group members, Purva, but unfortunately she cannot join us today. Instead, I will be showing you the presentation for the prototype. So here's the video. So as mentioned, we want the elderly to feel like they are still a part of the society. And this app is just one step to do that. And also, it's an app that does not require a lot of money from them. So regardless of their socioeconomic status, they may be able to use it. So to conclude, we have Mai.
Yeah, thank you, Rudy. To conclude this proposal, we have already established that the elderly are facing a lot of problems in the present society, especially in Japan. As early as today, there is a need to prepare for the aging people's future. Our application EdCare is another unexplored possible solution to make the lives of the elderly population more convenient and at the same time inclusive. Then, as a recommendation, we believe that the application feature needs to be more explored, especially by app developers. There is a need for it to be more interactive and easier or smoother to use in order to make sure that the elderly will be able to use it for a long time or without having a difficulty. So extensive research on isolation, socioeconomic, and the health of the elderly will also give a way to the possibility of incorporating solution to different problems on the application. Yeah, thank you for your listening and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Table 4, for your presentation. So this is the end of the presentation from all the tables. Thank you very much for all of the hard work and congratulations on your excellent performance.
以上をもちまして、各分科会からの成果発表は終了となります。皆さん発表お疲れ様でした。
After today's final forum, the final product of each table will be reviewed and submitted to the relevant organizations.
本日の成果発表会の後、各分科会の提言や最終成果物は校閲を行った上で各関係機関に提出させていただく予定です。
Furthermore, at the end of today's event, we will have a free interactions session. If you have any question or comments on any of the tables, we will be waiting for you at their own breakout room. We welcome all of your comments in both Japanese and English.
なお、本日プログラムの最後に各分科会の学生と自由にご交流いただける時間を設けております。ご意見やご質問などがございましたらお気軽にご参加ください。日本語でも英語でもご質問いただけます。
Next, we would like to move on to the feedback session.
分科会の皆様、発表ありがとうございました。続いて発表の高評価へと移らさせていただきます。
So first, I would like to invite our President Minori to give the feedback to all the tables.
Okay, thanks, Lan. So I'm going to give a feedback in English so everybody can understand. I personally stayed in ISC from last year, but this year I felt more not only about policy proposal or academic paper, but it had more creativity. For example, Table 4 created an app, but also Table 1, for example, presented their interview in the form of video. So I found it really creativity from you guys and I really liked it. But also what I really liked about your presentation was how the topic was really varied, from social work to even Arctic issue with regards to international law. So it was really entertaining, also fun to watch all the presentation, and then like there was no that much similarities between you guys. And then finally, from the positive side, I wanted to say I really felt a little bit of motivation from you guys. You guys seemed really enthusiastic about your topic, and then even really in detailed slides, I felt that you guys really was into the topic, also really liked doing what you guys are working on. From the negative side, on the other hand, like there was not so much negativity, everything was really well done, but it was a little bit of lacking implementation, how you can realistically realize the solution you guys come up with. So who should act to solve this issue? Who you're gonna kind of contact first, so such that when you present or propose your proposal, when you submit a proposal to the government or designated organization, they know they should be the one who act first to do something about the issue, rather than kind of generally saying international cooperation should be important or kind of the support from the government is necessary or something. Say more who can act to do what, and therefore there will be this certain outcome. Also, it would have been nicer if you kind of also give more advantage and disadvantage of your solution. I think some table have done this, but it would have been nicer if all the table contributed to that part as well. But overall, the interest, effort, I have been working with you guys for 3 months, and then I think you have done so much more than so much more than necessary or could have been done within time framework. So despite the limited time, I think you guys did the surprisingly massive amounts of effort and outcome. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Minori. I would also like to give a feedback to you guys from my side as well. To me, first of all, thank you again very much for all of your effort in research with the aim of educating people on global issues and coming up with very innovative solutions. Although our conference this year is held online, I was moved by Table One's attempt to conduct the surveys and interviewing people in real life as well. It shows as a way to really press the severity of the issues from you guys. And with Table 2's topic of international law, I know it is a hard topic to address, but I see your effort in taking into account the past treaty and agreements to cooperate in your own proposals, and also to find the loopholes in those documents and recommend points to improve things they fail to address. I know that it is such a complicated issue, but with our ability and with my observation of your work in doing research, I think you guys have at least tried at being passionate about the issues and to try to solve the problem. And furthermore, I really appreciate Table 3's effort. As Minori said, it's very innovative, not only to write a research paper, but also to take initiative in educating people, through online social media. And also Table 4's attempt in helping the elderly engaging more into the society and create a practical issues to the problem, which is an app. And I've learned a lot from your discussions as well. So overall, from my side, I think the presentation are clear and easy to understand. And I think they shows your passion and commitment to solving the current problems and improving the status quo. So again, thank you all very much. So next, I would like to invite Shiki Aoyagi, ISC67 Vice President, to give his comment on our presentation this year.
Okay, so can you hear my voice, everyone?
Minhwa, sorry, Shiki, 1 second, Minhwa. Oh, thank you.
Is it okay now?
We can hear you.
Okay, thanks very much. Long time no see, and it's a nice pleasure to see you, some of them. I'm Shiki Aoyagi, who was the Vice President in the 67th International Student Conference. So, Lan and Minori did a great set of great feedback. So I'm not sure whether I can do a really nice one, but first, Otsukaresama and very, very well done for the research. I know, like, this year, just a year ago, Minori said, like, we are going to do we try to do it offline and try to install more interaction, not only the online version, which we try to do in ISC67, but also what we do before the ISC67. But yeah, because of the COVID-19, the situation has changed, and as a result, I know like the situation became out online, but despite of these challenges, I thought like the quality itself was very, very nice. It is especially in terms of the diversity of topic, like like um like what the table for said, like try to install into the apps, or like for the table two for the table two who try to see the environmental cases not in from the sea level, but sea level or like the warming case, but see from the other countries or like other cultures we hardly see it. That was really nice and exciting point. And from me, I like to say one thing. Is like because ISC has diverse topics and different specific points. So like if possible, it would be a nice opportunity to try to find a common point beyond the topic and within the topic. When we try to learn, we tend to be really, really specific, and that means like it's really hard for for people who don't know about the topic quite well. Well, it will be really hard to know. It will be really hard to understanding from first. So like from the environmental case, what is the problem of the elderly people, or like what is the problem of the mobility case, or how to tell it the correct information through the other people, kind of that. So like trying to find the common parts beyond the topic, and what you've already learned, not only from the ISC but also through what you learn from the university. So I think this is not the end of the ISC, but it will be a chance or like opportunity to broaden your eyes. So try to I hope you will keep in mind for that. Sorry for my long presentation. Thank you very much. I enjoyed a lot.
Thank you very much, Shiki. We all appreciate your advice. So next we would like to invite Ms. Ibe-san, who's the representative of Supporters International Education Centers. She would very kindly provide us with her feedback today.
Well, thank you very much for your kind introduction. Dear delegates and guests, thank you for participating in online final forum for a long time. My name is Ariko Ibe, and I'm Executive Director of International Education Center Supporters Association, which has supported the activities of International Student Conference and also Japan American Student Conference financially. As most of you may know, ISC started in 1954, but it has the same roots in Japan American Student Conference, which was started in 1934 by 4 Japanese university students. Japan American Student Conference was interrupted twice during war and right after World War II. Since 1954, ISC has started its conference in the form of multilateral global student conference, and Japan American Student Conference restarted in 1964 in bilateral form. International Education Center has been an official sponsor to Japan American Student Conference since 1964. Incidentally, this year, the 74th Japan American Student Conference has been held in the US now, visiting New York, Washington, DC, and Annapolis. Well, the past 2 years has been the most challenging time for all of us, with the COVID-19 global pandemic affecting virtually all aspects of our daily lives, forcing to adapt a virtual platform for the 67th and 68th ISC conferences. By participating in today's final forum, I was impressed various activities of ISC68 has done this year, and also opinions, insights, and suggestions about many SDGs topics from the delegates of many countries, how they have been analyzing our common problems using a lot of surveys and a video report. I would like to send a sincere congratulations to those who have prepared for this year's conference and today's final forum to showcase their research and discussion results and the proposal to the public. Especially, I acknowledge the enthusiasm and dedication of the executive committee, spending the past 12 months to make this year's conference and online final forum a reality. I'm also grateful to many mentors who have supported ISC's activities. We are now living in the age of turmoil affected by a global pandemic on one hand and the man-made conflict among nations in the world. Implications of these problems are incredibly high, posing a serious challenge to human wisdom and our ability to make the world a better place. This year's ISC's topic is Big Step, the new chapter of the global society and our lives. By participating in this year's ISC's activities and the final forum, I hope you gained new insights and unique perspectives. Also, when you made new friends in this conference, please try to stay in touch and make them lifelong friends. Your experience here promises to bring a considerable value in your future careers. Thank you so much for today's presentation, and I'm wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iwisa. We always appreciate your effort in providing us with great advices. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
So this is the end of the feedback session. Once again, please send a big round of applause to all our guests today. Thank you very much.
これにて高評会は終了となります。今一度ご来賓の皆様方へ深く感謝申し上げます。
Next, we would like to move on to the announcement of IC68 awards. Minori, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, so from this year on, we decided to honor ISC68 awards for those students who contributed to the table project the most or outstandingly performed at the conference. Now, first of all, I'm going to announce the ISC68 awards from table 1. Rahman, do you want to jump in?
Yes, thank you, Minori. First, I would like to begin by thanking all the members in the subtable teams for their hard work. And I would like to pay a special thanks to Takaya and Natsumi by offering them the ISC68 awards. They have excelled in their assignments. They always submitted it on time. They worked very hard and fast on their assigned parts and were able to contribute to all the other parts of the participants. They also gave us a lot of information and content from their own countries and from their knowledge. And they lastly showed great improvement by learning a lot from all the feedback that they received during the sessions, but also in their assignments. So thanks again, Natsumi and Takaya.
Congratulations, Takaya and Natsumi. Now I'm going to move on to table 2. Q, do you want to jump in?
Yes, thank you. So yeah, first of all, I would like to thank all the table members for your very hard work. Actually, I want to give all my table members a word, but unfortunately we only up to 2. So I would special thanks to Isamu Nakanishi-san and also to Navy. So because of I have 2 reasons for Isamu because he is always like very activity in every sessions as also participants in every like main conference as well as our study sessions, and also did a great job on the presentation sessions. I'm very impressed of your work. And also for Navy, he is also very actively in the work sessions and always raised lots of new questions that the others members that haven't seen, or is a new opportunities for us to learn new knowledges, and also I'm very glad to have you in my tables. But overall, that's all table members did a very great jobs, and we can't did this great job without all your support, as well as sub-table chiefs for all your support for our tables this year. So yeah, I would like to express my deepest thanks to the table members. That's all from table 2. Thank you.
Congratulations, 2 of you, and then thanks so much, Q, for the feedback. Now, table 3. Alia, do you want to come in?
Yep. Okay, so thank you so much for the opportunity for all participants to be able to achieve the ISC awards. Personally, from me, I'm on behalf of Minhwa and Miyu as my sub-table chief. We cannot decide at least like 2 people that are deserving the ISC award, because I can say that every single of them are very, very amazing. As a table members, they are very contributing. They are very active. They are very, very active in the context of table 3 and the ISC itself. So we are trying to like debating between 3 of us, and we came up with actually with a few names, but we decided to choose Natalie from Germany and also Shafi from India. Congratulations! But personally, I want to congratulate every single of table 3's members, because you have been a very amazing table members. I really, really appreciate and honored to be able to working with you guys as a friend, as a colleague, as your table chief, and yeah. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much, and congratulations for Chavi and Natalie for receiving ISC68 award. Finally, I'm going to move on to table 4. Maria, do you want to give a feedback?
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm not the table chief of table 4, but I did participate with all the session, and it's so difficult to choose because everyone are active. And what is this, Gracia? Oh, I would like to present this ISC68 award to. It's because Minori said it's okay to be 3 people, so we made it to 3 people. Deval, Purva, and Lady. Because I cannot even begin to express how much they have helped and contribute to the creation of the poly proposal and the application. They were not just active, but they really tried to involve everyone. They initiated study session in the table for further improve our policy proposal. And also, I would like to express my deepest thanks on behalf of Prial and the entirely of table 4 to 3 of you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Maria. And then congratulations for 3 of you. Although I set it up to 2, but you guys chose 3. So, well, but still congratulations. And then I really wish Priya would be here today, but she cannot make it for some unfortunate reasons. Okay, so congratulations for all. Also, it doesn't mean that the rest of you didn't do a great job. Literally, all of you did super amazing job. And I cannot imagine how difficult it was for all the table chiefs to pick up a few people. So thanks so much for all. And then please be proud of yourself as much as you can. And then now we would like to move on to the closing ceremony.
続きまして閉会式に移ってまいります。それではよろしくお願いいたします。
So again, it's me. I'm going to provide me and Yoshi, our PVP, President and Vice President. We're going to provide a closing speech to end our session. So give me a second, please. So we were all here today to discuss some of the most important issues in our global society, pushing ourselves in the intensive learning experience and past good solutions. It was a first attempt for me from the last year to do main conference throughout the 8 days straight online, because usually online sessions, people do not want to stay that long online, and then we thought the focus might be lacking later, but I still kicked through it, and I was really impressed how everybody was engaged throughout the time, and then almost all of them stayed till the end with a massive amount of effort. Maybe we all questioned, what can young people do? I also sometimes ask myself, like, am I powerless? Does it matter what we shouldn't do? But throughout the entire program and this final forum, I'm highly sure that we can make a difference through education and by raising our voices into global politics. When I was talking with Mazen, if you remember, from Amnesty International, he told me this. So many young people believe that they can make almost no difference in politics. However, rather than it being impossible, it just takes time. So if we continue learning, there will be so many ways and opportunities that you can contribute to the global society in the future. Likewise, if we do not learn, there will be limited number of doors we can open in the future. Instead, if we keep learning, then there will be a lot of ways you can choose or you can opt for. In whatever the way you want, you can contribute to the global society to be better. And then there are doors of careers, chances, connections, and so on. I hope that we all felt the potential of young people, the importance of education among young people to gain power in the global society. Finally, I strongly believe that ISC68 will continue to be the place where students from around the world learn a lot and make changes in their future. Such a valuable experience will produce many alumni like some of you who are here today. Again, we really appreciate all of your support and the presence today. And please cheer on all of us in contribution to the steps the global society will make in the future. Thanks so much.
私たちは今日、グローバル社会における最も重要な問題について議論し、集中的な学習プログラムの中で自ら追い込み、良い解決策を見出すためにここに集まりました。私たちは皆、私たち若者に何ができるだろうか、また自分自身は無力なのだろうかと日々自問しております。私たちがアクションを起こすことは重要なことなのでしょうか。この問いに答えるために私たちはプログラム全体を通して、そしてこの最終成果会を通して、教育を通じて、そして声を上げることによって変化をもたらすことができると強く確信いたしました。アムネスティ・インターナショナルのマゼン様とお話をさせていただいた際には、彼はこんなことをおっしゃっていました。多くの若者は自分は政治にほとんど影響を与えることができないと思っている。しかし、不可能というより、時間がかかるだけなんだ。学び続ければ、将来グローバル社会に貢献できる方法や機会がたくさんあるはずだ。同様にもし私たちが学ばなければ、将来開くことのできるドアの数は限られる。例えば、キャリア、チャンス、人脈などのようにと。この金言から皆様には若者の可能性、グローバル社会で力を発揮するための教育の重要性を感じていただけたのではないでしょうか。最後に ISC 国際学生会議はこれからも世界中の学生が多くのことを学び、自身のまた世界の未来を変えていく場であると強く信じています。そのような貴重な体験が今日ここにいらっしゃる皆様のような多くの優秀な卒業生を生み出すのだと考えております。再度本日のご来場、ご支援誠に感謝申し上げます。そして私たち第68回国際学生会議の一人一人がグローバル社会の一歩に貢献できるようご応援のほどよろしくお願いいたします。以上となります。
Again, thanks very much for everyone. And moving on, we would like to hear your feedback so that we can improve the quality of our future activities. A questionnaire for today's event will be distributed in the Zoom chat. We would appreciate it if you could take a moment to answer it.
皆様ありがとうございます。今後の活動の質の向上のために皆様のご意見をぜひお伺いしたいと考えております。Zoom のチャットにて本日の成果発表会の事後アンケートを配布いたします。何卒ご回答いただけますようよろしくお願いいたします。
Okay. Finally, Avon, could you kindly take a screenshot for all of us so we can record? We did a really nice session.
Okay.
Yes.
right.
Maybe get rid of the pin option.
Yeah.
And then everyone, if possible, please turn on your camera. And if you do not really wish to show your face, then please feel free to take your camera off.
Yeah, just like Minori said, please everyone turn on your cameras. All right, I'm gonna taking two picture because like there's only one slide right now on my screen. So the first one is like we're going to have a formal taking picture. So everyone, please look at the camera. I will count from 3, 2, 1. Jump. All right. For the second one, you can do your pose if you want. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you so much. I will pass back to Minori.
Thank you very much, Evan, and everyone. This is the end of 68th International Student Conference Final Forum. And after that, we will soon open the interaction session. The audience is welcome to come and ask any of the table questions concerning their presentations or give any comments now. So if there is any questions, then you can raise your hand so that I can call it out. Anything. No questions? Okay, seems like there is no questions. So we would like to end the session. And then kindly, I would like to ask participants and commit members to stay in sessions after closing. And again, thanks so much for everyone for your attendance, and please answer the questionnaire if possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is it only, wait. Okay, yeah, Maria, you can stop sharing your screen. Wait, how do I do this? Is it only the case? Okay, I think it's only us. Okay, wait, can I be casual? Okay, okay. Wait, what? It was signed up. Wait a second, please. Yeah, there's, I'm trying to see what I can do.